Hi, I'm Destiny from Nifty Knittings, and today I've teamed up with Michaels to show you how to knit these chunky seed stitch mittens using Lion brand Woolies Thick and Quick. You can find all of the materials you'll need for this project at your local Michaels. I'm going to start with a slip knot and place it on my needle. I am using Clover 29-inch circular needles and the magic loop method, and using the long tail method, I'm going to cast on 19 stitches. I have my stitches cast on, and I'm just going to slide them down to the center of the cable. And I'm going to count out the first 9 stitches and then pull my cable through, essentially dividing these stitches in half. We'll just be working with half of the stitches at a time with the magic loop method. Move my tail and working yarn out of the way so we can get ready to join in the round. I'm going to pull the cable between the last 2 stitches that we cast on and use this last stitch here to join in the round. To join in the round, I'm going to slide the first stitch from my left needle over to the right and slide this stitch over it, and then slide this stitch back to my left needle. Now we're just going to work in a knit 1 purl 1 rib for 6 rounds. When you're using the magic loop method, you really want to be careful to choose needles that have a nice flexible cord. I'm going to go ahead and place a locking stitch marker inside my first stitch here to mark the beginning of the round. I'm using Loops and Threads jumbo stitch markers, which are perfect for these size needles and yarn, and you can use them as either locking stitch markers or clip them together and use them as standard stitch markers, which is what we will use them for next. I'm going to slide the other half of my stitches to be worked up onto this needle and continue knitting 1, purling 1. I finished my cuff, and now we are going to switch to seed stitch. So we will be purling the knits from the previous row and knitting the purls. I'm going to purl 1, knit 1, and keep repeating to the end of the round. And for round 2 of seed stitch, we're going to knit 1, purl 1, so the opposite of round 1. And we'll continue in seed stitch for 4 rounds total. I finished my 4 rounds, and now we will begin increasing on the left side of the mitten to add a thumb gusset, and the thumb will be worked after we're finished with the rest of the mitten. So again, we're going to need some more stitch markers, and these will be really helpful for helping us keep track of our thumb stitches. Again, I'm using the jumbo stitch markers from Loops and Threads at Michaels. So we're going to work in seed stitch until we have 1 stitch left on our front needle and place a marker. Then we're going to make a make 1 right increase. So using this little bar right between our stitches, we're going to pick it up from the rear and knit into the front of that stitch. So just think make 1 right is rear. And then we are going to purl the next stitch. Turn our work around, pull this needle through, slide our stitches up, and then we'll do a make 1 left increase. So we will pick up that same bar but from the front this time and knit into the back of that stitch. Then place another marker, and this indicates our thumb stitches. So we'll continue working in seed stitch. For this round, we're going to work in seed stitch the entire round, slipping the markers as we come to them. We're going to keep repeating these increase and plain seed stitch rounds until we have 7 stitches between our markers. I now have 7 stitches between my markers. I'm going to work 1 more round in seed stitch. Now we are ready to separate for our thumb stitches. So I'm going to work in seed stitch to my marker, remove the marker, and then we will need a large eye tapestry needle. I am using the Clover Jumbo Tapestry Needle set. We'll also need a piece of scrap yarn. Thread that onto your tapestry needle, and then we are going to slip the 7 stitches for the thumb onto this piece of scrap yarn. Just slip them purlwise, don't twist them. Pull that through. And we'll slip the other 3 right here. You should have a total of 7 stitches on your scrap yarn. And I will take off this last marker. Now we need to get our stitch count back up to 18. So I'm going to cast on 1 extra stitch onto my back needle here. And we have 9 stitches on each needle now. I'm going to place another locking stitch marker right here where we cast on that extra stitch. And this will come in handy when we go to knit the thumb. And continue working in seed stitch until the mitten measures 8.5 inches. I finished my mitten and I'm ready to decrease. So So I'm going to slip the first 2 stitches knitwise, put my left needle back through them, and knit them together. Work in seed stitch to the last 2 stitches, and we'll knit those together as well. Just a knit 2 together, and keep repeating this decrease on each side of our needle until you have 6 stitches left. I'm going to cut my yarn, leaving a nice long tail. Again, use my tapestry needle. And we're going to slip all these stitches purlwise onto the tapestry needle. Pull that through. And these 3. And pull that nice and snug. I like to go ahead and thread my tapestry needle back through the first stitch, and then down through the center of those 6 stitches. And pull that nice and snug. We'll weave this in once we finish the thumb. Now for the thumb, we have our 7 stitches on our scrap yarn. We're going to go ahead and put those back on the needles. I like to put 4 on at a time and then slip the next 3. And you can go ahead and pull out that scrap yarn. Now where we have our stitch marker place is where we're going to pick up and knit 1 stitch. So just stick your needle right through where the stitch marker is, wrap your yarn around your needle, and pull it through that loop. I like to leave my stitch marker in place to help me keep track of my rounds. And now for the thumb, we're just going to knit in seed stitch for 8 rounds. Pull that first stitch nice and snug. I finished my 8 rounds, and to decrease, it'll be just like the top of the mitten. We're going to slip, slip, knit, and then knit 2 together, and repeat for the other 4 stitches. Now that I just have 4 stitches left, I'm going to cut my yarn and bring that through my remaining stitches, just like we did the top of the mitten. Pull that nice and snug. Again, going through that first stitch. And then down through the center of the thumb. And pull that nice and snug. Now I'm just going to take out my stitch markers and flip this inside out so we can weave in the ends. Okay, we'll have 4 ends to weave in. I'll start with the top of the mitten. And I just like to choose a path of the yarn and follow it with my tapestry needle. So the yarn kind of loops up and down, and I like to follow about 3 stitches. Down, over, back up, and down. We'll weave in the top of the thumb the same way. Now at the base of the thumb, there are 2 holes on either side. We're going to use the tail from our picked up stitch and weave around those to close them up. Now I like to go right around the hole, not through it. Just follow the path of the yarn under here, kind of like in a circle. And then we can cinch it closed. Do the same thing for this smaller hole. And cinch that closed. And then I just like to weave 1 more stitch. And then for the cuff, I like to poke that back to the inside. And then I like to weave it upwards diagonally. So up around a purl stitch and over to a knit stitch. Up that knit stitch and around 1 more purl stitch. And then we're just going to trim these ends, and I like to leave about a 1/4 inch sticking out so that they don't poke back through to the right side. And that's all there is to it. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy your new cozy mittens. Happy knitting!